Michael Gerard Tyson, born June 30, 1966, is an American former professional boxer who competed from 1985 to 2005. Nicknamed Iron Mike, 3, and Kid Dynamite in his early career, and later known as the baddest man on the planet, 4, Tyson is considered one of the best heavyweight boxers of all time. 5. He reigned as the undisputed world heavyweight champion from 1987 to 1990. Claiming his first belt at 20 years, 4 months, and 22 days old, Tyson holds the record as the youngest boxer to win a heavyweight title. 6. Tyson won his first 19 professional fights by knockout, 12 of them in the first round. He won the WBC title in 1986 after stopping Trevor Berbick in the second round, and added the WBA and IBF titles after defeating James Smith and Tony Tucker in 1987. He was the first heavyweight boxer to simultaneously hold the WBA, WBC and IBF titles, as well as the only heavyweight to unify them in succession. The following year, Tyson became the lineal champion when he knocked out Michael Spinks in 91 seconds of the first round. 7. He successfully defended his titles 9 times, including victories over Larry Holmes and Frank Bruno. In 1990, Tyson lost the titles to underdog Buster Douglas, who knocked him out in the 10th round. Attempting to regain the titles, Tyson defeated Donovan Ruddock twice in 1991, but pulled out of a fight with then-undisputed heavyweight champion Evander Holyfield, who had defeated Douglas in 1990 to win the titles, due to a rib injury. In 1992, Tyson was convicted of rape and sentenced to 6 years in prison, although he was released on parole after 3 years. 8, 9, 10. After his release in 1995, he engaged in a series of comeback fights. He regained the WBC and WBA titles in 1996, after stopping Frank Bruno and Bruce Seldon. With his defeat of Bruno, Tyson joined Floyd Patterson, Muhammad Ali, Tim Witherspoon, Evander Holyfield and George Foreman as the only men in boxing history to have regained a heavyweight championship after losing it. After being stripped of the WBC title in the same year, Tyson lost the WBA title to Evander Holyfield by an 11th round stoppage. Their 1997 rematch ended when Tyson was disqualified for biting Holyfield's ears, one bite notoriously being strong enough to remove a portion of his right ear. In 2002, Tyson fought for the world heavyweight title again at the age of 35, losing by knockout to Lennox Lewis. Tyson retired from professional boxing in 2006, after being knocked out in consecutive matches against journeyman Danny Williams and Kevin McBride. Tyson declared bankruptcy in 2003, despite having received over $30 million for several of his fights and $300 million during his career. At the time, the media reported that he had approximately $23 million in debt. 11. Tyson was known for his ferocious and intimidating boxing style as well as his controversial behavior inside and outside the ring. He holds the third longest unified championship reign in heavyweight boxing history at 8 consecutive defenses. Tyson currently ranks 14th in BoxRec's ranking of the greatest heavyweights in history. 12. He was ranked 16th on the Ring magazine's list of 100 greatest punchers of all time. 13. And first on ESPN's list of the hardest hitters in heavyweight history. 14. Sky Sports described him as perhaps the most ferocious fighter to step into a professional ring. 15. He has been inducted into the International Boxing Hall of Fame and the World Boxing Hall of Fame. Michael Gerard Tyson was born in Brownsville, Brooklyn, New York on June 30, 1966. 16. He has an older brother named Rodney, born circa 1961-17, and an older sister named Denise, who died of a heart attack at age 24 in February 1990. 18. Tyson's biological father is listed as Purcell Tyson, who was from Jamaica, on his birth certificate, 1920, but the man Tyson had known as his father was Jimmy Kirkpatrick. Kirkpatrick was from Greertown, North Carolina, a predominantly black neighborhood that was annexed by the city of Charlotte, 21, where he was one of the neighborhood's top baseball players. Kirkpatrick married and had a son, Tyson's half-brother Jimmy Lee Kirkpatrick, who would help to integrate Charlotte high school football in 1965. In 1959, Jimmy Kirkpatrick left his family and moved to Brooklyn, where he met Tyson's mother, Lorna Mae Smith Tyson. Kirkpatrick frequented pool halls, gambled and hung out on the streets. "My father was just a regular street guy caught up in the street world," Tyson said. Kirkpatrick abandoned the Tyson family around the time Mike was born, leaving Tyson's mother to care for the children on her own. 22. Kirkpatrick died in 1992. 23. The family lived in Bedford-Stuyvesant until their financial burdens necessitated a move to Brownsville when Tyson was 10 years old. 24. Tyson's mother died 6 years later, leaving 16-year-old Tyson in the care of boxing manager and trainer Cus D'Amato, who would become his legal guardian. Tyson later said, "I never saw my mother happy with me and proud of me for doing something. She only knew me as being a wild kid running the streets, coming home with new clothes that she knew I didn't pay for. I never got a chance to talk to her or know about her. Professionally, it has no effect, but it's crushing emotionally and personally." 25. Throughout his childhood, Tyson lived in and around neighborhoods with a high rate of crime. According to an interview in Details, his first fight was with a bigger youth who had pulled the head off one of Tyson's pigeons. 26. Tyson was repeatedly caught committing petty crimes and fighting those who ridiculed his high-pitched voice and lisp. By the age of 13, he had been arrested 38 times. 27. He ended up at the Tryon School for Boys in Johnstown, New York. Tyson's emerging boxing ability was discovered there by Bobby Stewart, a juvenile detention center counselor and former boxer. Stewart considered Tyson to be an outstanding fighter and trained him for a few months before introducing him to Cus D'Amato. 22. Tyson dropped out of high school as a junior. 28. He would be awarded an honorary doctorate in humane letters from Central State University in 1989. 29. Kevin Rooney also trained Tyson, and he was occasionally assisted by Teddy Atlas, although Atlas was dismissed by D'Amato when Tyson was 15. Rooney eventually took over all training duties for the young fighter. 30. As an amateur, Tyson won gold medals at the 1981 and 1982 Junior Olympic Games, defeating Joe Cortez in 1981 and beating Kelton Brown in 1982. Brown's corner threw in the towel in the first round. He fought Henry Tillman twice as an amateur, losing both bouts by decision. Tillman went on to win heavyweight gold at the 1984 Summer Olympics in Los Angeles. 31. Tyson made his professional debut as an 18-year-old on March 6, 1985, in Albany, New York. He defeated Hector Mercedes via first-round TKO. 22. He had 15 bouts in his first year as a professional. Fighting frequently, Tyson won 26 of his first 28 fights by KO or TKO, 16 of those came in the first round. 32. The quality of his opponents gradually increased to journeyman fighters and borderline contenders. 32, like James Tillis, David Jocko, Jesse Ferguson, Mitch Green, and Marvis Frazier. His win streak attracted media attention and Tyson was billed as the next great heavyweight champion. D'Amato died in November 1985, relatively early into Tyson's professional career, and some speculate that his death was the catalyst to many of the troubles Tyson was to experience as his life and career progressed. 33. Tyson's first nationally televised bout took place on February 16, 1986, at Houston Fieldhouse in Troy, New York against journeyman heavyweight Jesse Ferguson, and was carried by ABC Sports. Tyson knocked down Ferguson with an uppercut in the fifth round that broke Ferguson's nose. 34. During the sixth round, Ferguson began to hold and clinch Tyson in an apparent attempt to avoid further punishment. After admonishing Ferguson several times to obey his commands to box, the referee finally stopped the fight near the middle of the sixth round. The fight was initially ruled a win for Tyson by disqualification, DQ, of his opponent. The ruling was adjusted to a win by technical knockout, TKO, after Tyson's corner protested that a DQ win would end Tyson's string of knockout victories, and that a knockout would have been the inevitable result. In July, after recording 6 more knockout victories, Tyson fought former world title challenger Marvis Frazier in Glens Falls, New York on another ABC Sports broadcast. Tyson won easily, charging at Frazier at the opening bell and hitting him with an uppercut that knocked Frazier unconscious 30 seconds into the fight.